Um, Dear students, our today's topic for the discussion is a story, The Sniper, written by Liam O Flaherty. This is lesson number 7 of our second 12th English. Before starting the lesson, let me give you a brief introduction about the writer, that is Liam O Flaherty. Dear students, Liam O Flaherty, he was born in 1896 and he died in 1984. He was born at Inishmore, the largest of the Aran Islands, in 1896. He wrote in English and Irish. He was born in rural poverty, but he died in urban comfort. Passionate in his love of nature, he hated everything British in man. An exceptional writer of short stories about man and beast on Ireland's western seaboard. This was about writer. Let me give you a brief introduction about the story, that is The Sniper. Dear students, the story The Sniper draws our attention to a contemporary social problem, conflict and violence. The author underlines the futility and irrationality of violence in our midst. A violent and bloody strategy to attain a goal may well be self defeating. The story is set in the strife torn city of Dublin, where two groups are fighting a bloody battle to establish their supremacy over each other. The story centers around a Republican sniper out to kill anyone from the opposite camp. He does display remarkable skill in shooting down his enemy, but was the victim of his gun, his enemy in reality. What did the Republican sniper realize when he looked at the dead man's face? So now there is a question mark. Could violence bring his goal nearer to him? Could violence bring his goal nearer to him? So this was a short introduction, brief introduction about the story The Sniper. Dear students, now pre-reading. What are some of the words that occur to our mind when you think of war and fighting between two countries? Between countries. Discuss the words with your partner and write as many as you can think of. Dear students, everyone knows when there is a war between two countries and what is the outcome of the war. When two countries are fighting each other, then what is the result of the war and what is the outcome of the war? Everybody knows about it and everybody is aware about it. Now we are being asked that what are the some of the words that occur in your mind when two countries fight each other, and then what are the words that occur in your mind after the fighting of the two countries? The words that occur in our mind are, after the fight between the two countries, the words which occur in our mind are destruction, grief, bleeding, death, hopeless, despair, conflict, panic, horrible, unavoidable, hatred. Let me repeat these words again. When there is a war between two countries, and when there is fight between the two countries, and we are being asked that what are the words that come into your mind when we think of war and fighting between the two countries. The words that come to our mind are destruction, grief, bleeding, death, hopeless, despair, conflict, panic, horrible, famine, hatred, pain, unavoidable, and another word that is rebuilding. Now, reading the following story is set in the center of the Dublin during the Civil War and took place between 1919 1922. That means this story takes place in the center of the Dublin during the Civil War. Actually, what is Civil War? It is a war fought between the factions of the inhabitants of a single country, right? So this story took place in the center of the Dublin during the Civil War, and took place between 1919 and that lasted up to 1920. The Republicans and the Free Staters were then fighting over the division of Ireland into Northern Ireland. These were the two groups, that is the Republicans and the Free Staters. They were fighting over the division of the Ireland into Northern Ireland and the rest of the country. The sniper, who is from the Republican group, fight to see both sides of the country united. He does not want the division of his country, so he fights to see the both sides of the country united. He wants to see the both sides of the country one. So now read the story. So now let's read the story. The long June TV light faded into night. Dublin lay enveloped in darkness, but for the dim light of the moon that shone through fleecy clouds, casting a pale light as of approaching dawn over the streets and the dark waters of the Liffey. Around the beleaguered forecourts where fighting was constant, the heavy guns roared here and there through the city. Machine guns and the rifles broke the silence of the night spasmodically like dogs barking on lone farmers. Republicans and Free Staters were waging a civil war. Dear students, here writer says that TV light in the month of June had changed into night. What is TV light? TV light here means that evening or morning time when light and darkness seems to be mingling each other. Here writer says that TV light in the month of June had changed into night. Now we know what is TV light. Evening or morning time when light and darkness seems to be mingling each other. So writer here says that TV light in the month of June had changed into night. Dublin was surrounded by darkness. The dim light of the moon shone through softy and woolly looking clouds. They were throwing a pale light as that of coming morning over the streets and the darkness and the dark waters of the Liffey River, on the banks of which Dublin is situated. A building in centre Dublin called Four Courts was surrounded by the army. Fighting was constant near the Four Courts. The heavy guns were producing a loud thundering noise. Machine guns broke the silence of the night here and there at the irregular intervals. A civil war was being fought between the two groups, that is the Republicans and the Free Staters. Right? Now text. On a rooftop near Os Colonel Bridge, a Republican sniper lay watching. Beside him lay his rifle, and over his shoulders was slung a pair of field glasses. His face was the face of a student, thin and ascetic, but his eyes had the cold gleam of the fanatic. They were deep and thoughtful, the eyes of a man who is used to looking at death. Dear students, here writers gives a further description of the fight at that night. Writer gives the further description of the fight of that night. Writer here says that on a rooftop near O'Connell Bridge, a Republican shooter lay watching. His rifle lay by his side. A pair of field glasses were slung over his shoulders. He looked like a student. Here writer says that he looked like a student. His face was thin and simple, but his eyes had the fire of a zealot in them. They were deep and thoughtful. His eyes had the fire of a zealot in them. They were deep and thoughtful. He had the eyes of a man who were accustomed to looking at death. Thank you very much.